The Soviet Union, an economic and military powerhouse through its existence as one of the strongest countries in the 20th century. It comprised of modern-day Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. Yet at its height, it imploded into 15 new countries and ceased to exist. How did this happen? The October Revolution, which was the event caused by the Bolsheviks and by Vladimir Lenin, started when some of the citizens of the Russian Empire didn't like the fact they were at war with Austria-Hungary and the big bad German Empire during World War I. Not the Nazis yet. Because of this, the citizens couldn't really eat or do much, but the rich and wealthy were fine, so they decided, well, this dude named Karl Marx thinks that the government should share the wealth between the people. And Vladimir Lenin, the man who started the Soviet Union, liked that idea, so his followers rebelled against Russia and succeeded. And after the treaty to end World War I restored the Soviet might, and with Lenin at its center, they formed the Soviet Union. Lenin ruled until 1924, when he died and was replaced by Joseph Stalin. You know him, the brutal one who killed many Soviet citizens under his oppressive policies. He also killed many of the Soviet high command, because the country was slowly destabilizing and he needed to stop that before an officer rebellion started. Newsflash, the Nazis are slowly gobbling up other countries in Europe. Not wanting to be the next one, the Soviets and the Nazis signed a secret agreement to divide Eastern Europe between themselves and to not attack each other. But after the Nazis built up some strength, they eventually switched sides and invaded the Soviet Union thinking they could go through the weather. Fortunately for us, they could not, and they were pushed all the way back to Berlin. So after World War II, the map ended up looking like this to this. Now the Soviets, while pushing the Nazis back, occupied lots of territory in between themselves and Germany. Now instead of letting them be free, like the Western powers did their occupied territories, the Soviets made satellite states out of the countries. Now the West didn't like the Soviets one bit because of this, and this was the beginning of the Cold War. Cold War included Stalin dying due to a brain hemorrhage and replaced by Nikita Khrushchev, who didn't like the brutal policies made by Stalin and decided to remove some of them, and made some freedom possible in the USSR, but there was still some suppression. There are many crises and civil wars during the Cold War, mainly sponsored by the US and the USSR. Some of the more famous examples include the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and much, much more. Also, many advances in technology happened, such as the invention of Sputnik 1, which was the first probe ever launched into space. During this time, Leonid Brezhnev came into the office. However, he didn't really do much. But after that, the Soviet Union elected Mikhail Gorbachev, who was in short a game changer. Now he knew that he needed the Cold War to end in order to rescue the Soviet economy, because most of the GDP of the USSR was going to the military. He also needed to rescue the opinion of the people towards the Communist Party, because...
That's a good one. Communism, as practiced in the USSR, was a top-down political system, so relatively few people held all the control. So the way that it affects the rest of the population is it makes them dependent upon those decisions, and they have very, very little input into those decisions. They basically have to accept what the people above them tell them to do. So it's a kind of top-down system.
So to rescue the Soviet economy and the opinion of the people, he introduced his famous policies of glasnost, or transparency, which means no more brutality and more freedom, and perestroika, or restructured the Soviet economy. He knew he had to establish a positive relationship with the West, or they would circle and destroy the USSR. However, many people from the Communist Party didn't like Gorbachev's unoppressive policies, and some even tried to start a coup at the Russian White House. But Boris Yeltsin, the president of the Russian SFSR inside the USSR, along with some of his followers, stopped the coup by rolling up to the White House with a tank. This was one of the signals that the Soviet Union was falling. In the end, the Soviet Union had a bloody beginning, and an even bloodier midlife, with the man who started it all, Vladimir Lenin, then the massacre of the man Joseph Stalin, who ruled with an iron fist, and after World War II, and in the middle of the Cold War, came Nikita Khrushchev to de-Stalinize the country and bring minor freedom to the Soviet Union. Then came Leonid Brezhnev to continue the Cold War, and after some other short-lived leaders came Mikhail Gorbachev, who attempted to rescue the Soviet economy and modernize the country, but ultimately failed and resigned as leader of the USSR, and with it the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991.